Today's guest is Adrian Danila. He's the regional director of Lessen, and he's the host at Multifamily Chronicles. So, Adrian, thank you for coming back on the show.
Tats, thank you for having me again. I'm very excited, looking forward to our conversation. And you just mentioned to me before we started recording that it's been over 2 years. It really blows my mind. Sounds like it was, a few weeks back, but I'm so excited to be back here.
Awesome. Well, what really caught my eye with what you've been doing for the last over 2 years is the pace of growth. Even without talking to you directly very much or messaging a lot, I could just see the amount of growth that's occurred over just over 2 years. So I definitely want to sort of paint the picture of where you were in January 2020. Just for the audience, that the people that haven't listened the previous episode, and then we can go from there. So take me back in time to that point. Where were you at? What were you dealing with?
Definitely. So back in 2020, at the time we did the first podcast, I was the director of maintenance for a group based in Atlanta, ECI Group. They own and manage about 7,000 apartment homes throughout the Southeast, throughout about 6 states. One of the great things that happened over there while I was with them, I was there for almost 3 years, 2 years and 9 months. We started with a high volume of pending work orders, and we were able to build a support team. And then our average pending work orders were about in the 30s. I'll say when we close each week, and we got them from the 30s to single digits for each property. So just to paint the picture for those that are not too familiar with multifamily, we're talking about communities that have 2, 3, or 400 apartment homes each. And for an apartment community that has a few hundred apartment homes, to only have at the end of the week 3, 4, 7, 9 tickets, single digit numbers, that's really good. That's a great performance. Being able to multiply that across a portfolio of 7,000 apartment homes, and we actually did that for 85 weeks in a row, including during pandemic. That was one of the things that I'm super proud of. So that was at the time, and then back in August of 2021, I left. I left TCI and I went to work for Bridgestone. Bridgestone is a new company, new property management company. They were the property was created to manage portfolios of real estate for Ashcroft Capital. So basically, that's their the company that owns the real estate. So they build the management company to manage. So I was there for only 4 months. Because I came across an opportunity that seems like it really fits me. It fits me really well. The opportunity was with Lessen, the company that I'm with right now. So what Lessen does is maintenance services for single-family and multifamily institutional owners, and they hire me to come on board and build their whole East Coast market, and that's what I've been doing since December. Actually started in December. I've been here for a little over 4 months, and I already helped them open 18 new markets all throughout East, mainly Southeast, and we're in process of opening 4 more by the end of this month. Very exciting.
Awesome. Okay, let's go back to the first company you with. You said you reduced the tickets. Now, how did you do that? How did you take it from such a high number to a low number? What were the keys?
So there were a few things. There were a few components. The first component was I built KPIs. So when I first got hired, I was told that we have a significant problem. There's a significant concern with the quality of the maintenance services, and there's a lot of work that it's not done. A lot of pending work. So when I asked the question, hey, like, how do we quantify, like, how much work are we talking about? There wasn't really a precise answer. So I said, well, we're missing an important piece. In order to improve something, you have to be able to measure it. So what I've done I put together a set of KPIs that actually tracks pending service request numbers per day. Each property is listed with whatever they have pending per day, Monday to Friday. And then Friday, I will measure those numbers twice. First thing at opening, and Friday evening when all the property is closed. And that will give me the average number per property. So just the simple fact that I created these KPIs created visibility, because this report that I was putting together was not just for me, was for everybody in a company to see, from vice president of operate, from the president of the company, all the way down to groundskeeper on each site. So what I created was, we created this accountability piece, and also individuals and professionals that took pride in their work. They always wanted to be at 0 work orders, or the lowest number. They didn't want to be at 100 to close with 100 or with 50. So that in itself, did a lot of good for us as an organization. So that was one thing. Second thing that I've done, I realized that at any given point we're gonna have openings. No matter how great of a recruiting game we could have, we're not gonna be able to have no vacant positions. So I said, okay, what's the average number of vacant positions in maintenance for us portfolio-wise? And let's just assume, for the sake of the argument, the number was 12. Okay, well, I don't need to hire 12 people, but if I could hire 4 or 5 people, they're really, really good ones. They really know what they're doing, great professionals, and I'm able to pay them over market salary, I could cover all those holes, just me running the team, and with those, 3, 4, 5 individuals. So the structure that was there in place before I got there was 2 basically flooring service managers. So from 2 flooring service managers, we added, we made, like, we bump them up to regional service managers, those individuals, and then we added a flooring service manager, a flooring service technician, and we hired a part-time HVAC professional. There was an individual that had a business on his own. He didn't want to work full-time, but an excellent professional. So with those people that we added to the corporate team that I ran, those are the 2 main factors, the 2 main components that I brought to the table, that we were able to get everything in just a very short period of time. And not only that, but I should say we staying in those very low single-digit numbers for 85 weeks in a row. It's truly remarkable. It's
Yeah.
very hard to achieve.
Yeah, so I'm assuming what it sounds like is you figured out there's always 12 vacancies, even if you're doing a great job. You create this floating team that is paid very well to be able to cover in different ways across the territory. So they're probably traveling a lot. Their jobs are changing all the time, but they're
Yes.
paid well. They're smart, and it fits with their lifestyle. That's actively covering this as you're recruiting against these vacancies.
You're absolutely right, but not only that. For those that think that, hey, my company can't afford that. Let me tell you, you can afford it. Like, you can afford it. It's out there. It's in your payroll, because if you have an average of, let's say, 12 positions that I made a case for, 10, 12 positions vacant at any given time, that's payroll that you're not spending money on. So you're not gonna pay those 4 or 5 individuals double
Yeah.
that you would pay your people on site,
Yeah.
but you'll pay them 20, 30%, better. You still have savings left, and then you use that floating team to go where the problems are.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like, oh, that's easy. We could do it if that's the case, but the reality is, like, you have to be great at managing. You have to know exactly where the issues are, so you're not wasting your resources. You're actually sending, like, everything is very targeted, right? We send the people where the needs are, where most of the needs are. So,
Yeah.
but it comes at no extra cost. I promise you that. Actually, you
Yeah.
still have savings in payroll.
I mean, essentially, this team, you need to be very close to this team, right? Because they have to trust that you're not sort of abusing the flexibility, that you get them in, you get them out, and make sure that their families are good. And then also I think the thing that I'm sort of guessing is, when you have that many vacancies and you don't have anyone covering, then the tickets go up, and then the cost is hitting your P&L anyways. So essentially, you're trying to get ahead of it by having this floating team.
You're right, but it's not also it's not only that. You just said something very interesting. I want to pick up on that.
Yeah, yeah,
There's another aspect that you're helping with. The aspect being that when you have a property where you should be you are budgeted, let's say for four maintenance professionals, supervisor and technicians, and you only have two, so you only work at 50% of their capacity. The longer you work, the bigger the chance for those two that you have left is for them to leave because you burn them out. So by having the support team help them with a work volume to keep up with a workload, it, it's a tremendous help. It's something that can be necessary. It's kind of like soft cost saving. You can quantify the money. Well, I guess you can, but not. It's not that easy to quantify money. When you know that you save two guys from burnout and from leaving your company, we all know what the situation in the market and the labor market is nowadays. Like saving two people, it's they're waiting gold, really. So we were able to save a lot of guys, not get them stressed out just because they knew we have their backs. So
yeah,
that's another benefit of the program that I've implemented.
yeah, for sure. Now you mentioned another thing on sort of the recruiting and having people's backs. You talk a lot about this on your social media. What are some key points you really kind of hammer home consistently?
Okay, recruiting is something that I've been passionate about for years, and I think uh, for a company, for an individual, for a recruiting manager, for a hiring manager to be successful is to truly understand human nature and understand what the needs and the desires of people are. Instead, coming and say, "This is what we offer," is that what what are our candidates looking for? What are they looking for in a job? Because it's not just the salary, it's not just the benefits. In all reality, I think that there's many other things that come before money. Of course, up to a certain level, I wanted to say money is important because no matter what, if you're not making enough money to pay your bills, that's not going to be a good proposition for you. You're not going to be in a good spot. But once you hit that level, you achieve the level of what you could afford to have a living. The rest of the stuff, it's not money. Money goes like third, fourth. It's not in a first place. Culture, upward mobility, uh, opportunities for advancement, recognition. Don't be the invisible employee. Most of the employees, I'm not just talking about my industry, property management, but there's so many workers out there. In my travels, I run into them all the time. They're invisible people. They truly are invisible. We think we see them, we don't see them. Like we're looking at them like they're just some moving fixtures in the environment. Uh, I ran into a gentleman that cleans up beaches on Jacksonville Beach. At he gets up at 3:30 in the morning, and I met him while I was doing my morning walks because I get up very early and I walk like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I stopped by to thank him. I took a picture with him. I acknowledged him. I put something. I did a post on LinkedIn. Let me tell you, I took his phone number and I texted him the message. He was so grateful. He said, "I showed this to my boss, to our company owner, and then you just made my day with this," because he's so happy that someone acknowledges the work we do. So when you think about it, that's what did it take me? A few minutes of my time to just say thank you and just acknowledge. And I have several stories like that with individuals that, doing a remarkable job in their job, but they're not fancy jobs. They're not the shiny jobs. They're not the jobs that you see on TV, advertised like they're the best jobs. They're the servers, they're the barista at Starbucks. I go to Starbucks a lot. And it blows my mind that, we just kind of look through them and we don't take a second to acknowledge, hey, you did a great job. You've been nice to me. Thank you. Say thank you. Like meaning thank you. Be meaningful in what you're saying. So all those things are very, very important. And I think that companies are looking at things in a very transactional way. And I won't say companies probably is not the word, but then people that are in charge with recruiting, they just say, for example, well, we're offering a competitive package. And then every time I hear competitive package, my question to you is define competitive. The answer that I get 98% of the time is that we're in line with what our competition, our comps pay in the area. And then I do a follow-up question. I say, yes, you do, but you do realize that they have the same problem as you do. Like just because you're offering the same benefits, it doesn't mean that your problem is solved. It's not going to be solved because if you're looking at them, they have the same problem as you do. So they're not solving the problem. You have to do better than that. You have to do better than that. Another thing that people are in a mindset of, saying nowadays is that people don't want to work. Please understand this once for all, is that people do want to work. They just don't want to work under any circumstance. They do have alternatives. And in my opinion, they always did have alternatives. It's just that nowadays, more than ever, they have awareness that they have alternatives. And it's also the gig economy that didn't exist maybe 5-7 years ago. Uber, DoorDash. I do a lot of Uber. I speak with the drivers all the time. Not a single driver that I've asked if they're happy with this type of gig said that they hate it. They all love it. Why? Because they could make their own schedule. So think about schedule flexibility is very important for people. There's so many things and so many opportunities out there. Instead saying people don't want to work, you have to think about this. What am I doing wrong in the recruiting process with the way I'm putting together my job offers so that people don't come to my company? Do I actually go where people live? I call this go where they live. A lot of times it's a virtual space, right? Whether they're LinkedIn, or they're Facebook groups. Don't just post like a cookie cutter type of Canva and flood the internet, the LinkedIn with the same type of Canva. You might change the colors and the wording a little bit and say that you did marketing and nobody wants to work, because nobody is going to come to you. You have to find ways to go to them. You have to find ways to differentiate you from your competition. All I'm seeing on LinkedIn, it's a long list of Canvas that they all look the same. A little bit change in design, a little bit change in text, and everybody does the same thing. And at the same time, everybody says people don't want to work. Find a way. Find a way. There are ways. And there are ways and they're working.
Very cool. I love it. So tell me a story. It sounds like, what you were hinting towards is that these sort of, talking to people that, may be invisible have led you to hiring or other opportunities like that. I think you were kind of hinting towards that. I'm guessing you have a few stories.
Yes. My stories are that I've learned a lot, over the years, and I'm learning every day still. When it comes to hiring, don't be so harsh on people when you judge them. Don't make them go through the hoops. Application process. They submit your resume. They submit a resume, and then you turn around and you say you gotta fill out the application. It's a 5-6 page document that nobody reads. That basically has to be filled out with the same information that they already had on the resume. Why is that necessary? Just because some bureaucrat in HR needs to have that in a file? That's absolutely ridiculous. You have to make this process of recruiting, you have to make it frictionless as possible. Okay, this is what changed everything. It changed the game. This phone. If everything has friction in it, your customer is not going to come to you. Okay, your candidates for jobs are your customers. Remember that. What you're offering when you put a job out there, it's a product. You're selling a product. That's the job that you're advertising. If people don't come to to apply for your jobs, you got to make a better product. don't blame the customer for not buying your product. You have to go back to the drawing board and build a better product.
Yeah.
So make it frictionless.
Yeah.
You know, get to them immediately. Be able to have an offer on a table. I understand. I think people way better than I did even a week or a month ago, because I am a student of human nature and I'm fascinated by the human nature. And I understand that there's so much good in people. You know, we became so judgmental. We're thinking like in the 1990s, and we think that we're the big company. It doesn't matter. You could put any name out there. We're the big company. People are gonna come line up at our door, and then hope that by the grace of God we're gonna pick them. It's not happening. It's not happening. You have to make it very appealing for them to come to you. Very few companies I could think of, they have this luxury that they don't do massive advertising, massive outreaching, that people are attracted to them. You know, a very few, maybe tech companies, let's say like Apple, like Google and Facebook. Everybody else competes over a shrinking pool of talent. Try to see the value in people, instead trying to make them fit in a box that's been arbitrarily created. I
Yeah.
know how those jobs are being created. You know, I actually participated to put together new job descriptions when I ran maintenance teams for property management companies, because they were newly created positions, but they were just a guideline. I never really went to check the boxes. If someone is not, checking 70-80% of the boxes, they're not good. I found exceptional talent. You just have to listen to people. One of our biggest mistakes we make in general in our work, is that we listen so we can respond, not to really understand. Take the time to really understand people. You'll be absolutely amazed how much talent is out there that otherwise you're basically just weeding out through your completely artificial criteria. And that creates more pain for your company. And then, of course, you're amazed why why you can't find qualified people.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let me understand your current role and what are the mechanics and practices you need to do to be successful going forward? Because your role has shifted quite a bit recently. So walk me through your role, the mechanics around it, and what you think is required to be successful at it.
So my current role is director of maintenance for Lessen for East Coast. So basically, we're a maintenance service company, as I mentioned before. And what we do, we operate in markets where our clients have properties. And for right now, we're servicing mainly single family customers. And then second part of the year, we're going to start working with multifamily more. We are doing a little bit of multifamily work, but we're not at the point where we're doing a lot. But we know that there's a potential, and we also understand that due to the labor shortages in general, and especially labor shortages in maintenance, the future for this trade is gonna be more towards outsourcing. So we're trying to fill that void. We're trying to build a structure that's gonna fill this void. So when a company, when an owner for an institutional investor, single or multifamily, has a number of homes or apartment homes, thousands of homes, and they need service, they need maintenance done to them. We want to be that company that they're going to call first. We have company vans on the road. We put $9,000-$10,000 worth of tools on the vans. You know, we equip them with everything that they need. We give them all the support that they need. We just need them to go out there, do the work, and be successful. So the difference between what I used to do before and what I currently do now is because it's the main difference is that we are remote. So we're a remote company. We're based in Arizona. Our headquarters are based in Arizona. I'm based in Atlanta. Right now, I'm in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. Today, I'm actually riding with one of my teammates right here. We spend the whole morning, and we're gonna spend the afternoon together. So the main key to success to me is that I'm there present in person. you can't assume that certain things happen the way they happen. You have to see it with your own eyes, and it's a very enlightening experience to see people that do such a great job. Their experience, I'm actually learning from them because I've been in a field for 19 years, but then my last probably 7 to 10 years, I've done very little hands-on work, even though I remember how it's done. But due to the management positions that I've held in large organizations, I never had to work. That was not part of my job to do hands-on work. So I get to enjoy in a big way now spending time with my teammates. And as I said before, understand who they are, where they're coming from, what can I do to make them successful. So basically that's what it is. We go into a market where we have a client. We start by hiring a maintenance supervisor, and then as the workload increases, we started adding technicians to for that maintenance supervisor to oversee. So that's our model. We have a few markets that are already 4 or 5 people in each market, and we have other markets that we're just starting with one or two individuals. The key is really to just be there, just be present all the time, in person as much as possible.
Yeah. And do you do the selling, or does someone sell the business, or are you part of that process?
It's actually it's a very interesting question. So there's a two-part answer. The first part answer is that our company has many investors, obviously, that have invested in our business, and they're also associated with where they might be investors in companies that own real estate too. So it's kind of for them just telling the other side, the side that owns the real estate, that hey, there's a service company out there that does service. So we do sales, but then a lot of our business comes from from the fact that we're interconnected. We have common investors with others that invest in the buildings. They're purchasing buildings.
Got it.
So I through my contacts in multifamily, we had some initial conversations with multifamily. Actually, when some of my peers that heard that I left the management side, going in on a vendor side, to provide services, they actually reached out and they wanted to learn what type of services, what type of work we do at Lessen. So it's a very exciting time. We're still at the very beginning. We're still in an infancy. I don't want for people to think that we already have thousands of maintenance employees, because we don't. But we just started. Like literally, when I started 4 months ago, there on the East Coast, I believe we only had 2 markets, and now we're looking at 12 markets in my area, and I'm about to open 3 more. So that's gonna put me at 15 markets in less than 5 months. I think that's pretty good. That's a good start.
Wonderful. Well, it seems like a very entrepreneurial environment. I'm looking forward to keeping up with this. Adrian, anything else you want to sort of bring up? Reflecting over the last two years or so, what you learned, or anything you want to pass on?
I think so. I think I like to share with everybody that if you're looking at me, you like some of the things that you're hearing. Maybe you know me from my posts on LinkedIn or from other social media, and you just kind of follow my trajectory for the past 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Is that never stop pushing. I'm not an extraordinary person. You're not looking at some very gifted individual, very special. I'm not any different than anyone that's watching this podcast right now, and than anyone out there. But what I do have, I think, and I wish for everybody to acknowledge, to have awareness that they have it too, is that I don't give up. I keep pushing. I keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Don't expect immediate results, because results are not going to come immediately. A lot of people know me for a year, 2 or 3 years. I've been at this game for 19 years. The other 15, 16 years, nobody heard about me, or very few people. So work your way up, and then build on your skill set, on your knowledge, on your network. Extremely important. Stay in touch with relevant people. Build a network. And then after 15, 16, 20 years, you're going to see how this pays off like compound interest. So this is not overnight. People that are looking at me and say, hey, you've done some great things. Yeah, but it's not overnight. Like, I've been working at it for 19 years. Have patience. It's the long game. You have a long way ahead of you. Even if you're in your 40s or 60s, don't think that it's too late for you. The things that you could accomplish in 10, 15 years are just beyond belief. If you really believe in yourself, you do have the resources to be that person.
Well, that's a wonderful message. Thank you, Adrian, and I appreciate you sharing your follow-up story.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly enjoyed the podcast. I truly enjoy our conversation. So